Welcome, ISEA 2013 delegates and guests, to our closing keynote address by Julian Assange. Julian is joining us from the Ecuadorian Embassy in London, and before I introduce him, I'd like to do a couple of thank yous. Thanks to Ruth Cross, Kaz Cochran, and ANAT Director Vicky Sowry for arranging this special hookup with Julian. I'd also like to thank Phil Glenn and his team from the Digital Media Unit at Sydney University, Juan Riseup for technical coordination in London, and Gus Wilson and his team at AV1. Now, an important housekeeping note, can I please ask you, because of the bandwidth here is critical, to turn off all of your electronic devices. I know this is a bit radical for the ISEA crowd. I know it's scary for you, but let it go for just an hour. I should also let you know that this session is going to be recorded and we'll be uploading it to the ISEA 2013 website within the fortnight. And after Julian's presentation, we'll have time for 3 questions. These are going to be selected by lottery, and I'll announce these at the end of the presentation. I'll pull out the tickets. Can I ask the question? There'll be 2 microphones, roving microphones. So we'll spread out into the auditorium. So please speak, directly into the microphone. Of course, as you know, the theme for this year's ISEA 2013 is "Resistance is Futile." The theme is a response to the fact that the digital has moved from the margins and become central to everyday life. Now ubiquitous, resistance to the digital has indeed proven futile. Artists play an important role by creatively investigating the possibilities and pushing the limits of new technologies, helping us to imaginatively experience and critically reflect on their implications for the life in the 21st century. One of the key sub-themes of ISEA 2013's conference has been "Resistance is Fertile." And over the past days, we've explored how art and new technologies are used to service power, politics, protest, and resistance. And this, of course, leads us directly to Julian Assange, who more than anyone else in the world at this point in time has a unique insight into the futility, or otherwise, of resisting the incursion of the digital into every aspect of our lives. Julian is founder and editor-in-chief of Wikileaks. Wikileaks is a perfect example of exploiting the ubiquity of digitized information. In fact, Wikileaks would not have been possible without the ubiquity of the digital in our world. So is resistance fertile? Is resistance necessary? Or is resistance ultimately futile if state apparatuses can and do regularly block people from the digital in the service of politics and power? Now please join me in giving a really warm welcome to Julian to the ISEA 2013 conference.
Are we on? Hello, Sydney, can you hear me? Just nod or wave if you can hear me. Yes. Okay. So I hear from these introductory remarks that apparently this is the closing keynote. So I will have to completely throw away everything and start afresh. But at least you'll be able to see me think. Now, when I was asked to do this, I thought, really? A keynote to a whole lot of digital people involved in art? Can they really understand or comprehend anything about what we have been doing or what I and the people close to me have been going through? And I started to reflect on art. And as someone who has been involved and pushing my life to the most serious of matters where we feel and live keenly because of the risks we take, I wondered, well, does art in the digital age really matter at all? Is it worth a damn? Or is it just a bunch of art wankers? So I think that's a really serious question. Are we just wasting our time? And we must ask this of ourselves every day, because every day that we do not live up to our principles is a wasted day. Every day that we do not strengthen our character by living out our principles is a wasted day. So are there principles involved in digital art? Are there any at all? Well, I have some people close to us involved, and actually you can see this logo comes from some of these people. This logo was developed by an Australian. It was developed by a young woman whose family was originally from Poland. And she was, before she designed this logo, immediately before, a quantum teleportation physicist that I met at the Australian National University. And it represents the flow of information from a dark world, bringing it into the light. And when art is done right, that is what it does. It represents some idealized form, some direction which we may follow, like a North Star or directions on the compass. It is not something of this world. Rather, it is a direction that we can either choose to strive to or flee from in this world. That coalition of basic Platonic forms, that basic understanding, the finding the essence of something, is what has made Wikileaks a success. We took on not everything, but rather the essence of the hardest thing. We looked for what is the hardest game in town, the hardest situation to break through in publishing and communication. Not to publish everything, but to find that one thing, that true thing, that provably hard thing, and to tackle that. To find the essence of the problem and get at the essence of the problem. And by getting at its essence, try and make real progress for all the rest. And the essence here is an economic and political essence. The more economic power, the more political power that is put into suppressing something, the greater the signal that it gives off that perhaps if it is released, it will change the world. So finding these forms and pursuing them, not just in art, but everywhere, is an important way of understanding the world, and it's an important way of changing the world. So the exploration of basic forms, the exploration of directions, the exploration of things that are not in this world, in order to understand where we are and gain a perspective. This is what art in general is good for, not just electronic art. And it is something worth pursuing. And even if only 1% actually has any discovery, actually provides a compass, even if only 1%, and the 99% is an illusion, or it is mere wankery, then that is an important 1% to keep. And perhaps it is worth all the nonsense that we see at conferences like this one. Perhaps, I don't know, you tell me. Now, this week has been an important week for us. It's been an important week for everyone who is connected to the internet. And to understand everyone connected to the internet, we must understand that once upon a time, just going back 5 or 6 years ago, we could talk about people connected to the internet and we could talk about others. We can't do that anymore. The internet has penetrated every aspect of our society. And our society has penetrated every aspect of the internet. These two civilizations have merged and fed upon one another and enriched each other and distorted each other. And there is no greater reflection of that than the revelations over the last week of Edward Snowden, and there is no greater example of that than the trial continuing this week, beginning last Monday, of Bradley Manning in the United States. Why is that? Edward Snowden revealed something that I have been speaking about for a long time, provided clear, concrete proof, almost perhaps an artistic, idealized form of that proof, that as the internet has penetrated every aspect of the society, riding on with it is mass surveillance. Mass surveillance by the National Security Agency of the United States, working in cooperation with its partners and other countries trying to do the same thing, although not nearly as effectively. You would have seen, some of you hopefully have seen the graph produced in the 4 pages released by the mainstream media detailing the National Security Agency's PRISM program. It shows the interflows of information between continents. And that is how people in this game look at it. Just like oil pipelines connecting the raw energy supplies of entire continents. We now have a new source of wealth and a new war for it, a new great game for the bulk flows of information that connect humanity together, to grab onto them, to surround them like armies surround oil wells or customs agents surround goods crossing the border. That graph shows, for example, that 99% of communications flows from Latin America flow out through the United States to get to Australia, to get to Asia, to get to Europe. And as they pass through the United States, they're intercepted, indexed, stored by the National Security Agency. Similarly, it shows that when Australians communicate to Latin America and they communicate to Europe, their communications flow through bulk interception points of the National Security Agency. There has been a change that has occurred under Obama. Let's go back to Bush. Some of these revelations about the bulk collection of telecommunications call records within the United States from Verizon and AT&T came out in 2006. They came out under the Bush government. What happened there? Well, there was an executive order given. That executive order pushed those companies to comply, promise them immunity. Bush corrupted the presidency, corrupted the Constitution, corrupted a few big telecommunications companies in the United States.